Hello, welcome to Oceanic Oracle. My name is Ari and today I'm going to be going through my October TBR. Oh my god, I can't believe it's almost October. I've got my pumpkin mug with a cat, which I have stuff in, so I'm going to leave it there. I've gone with a darker makeup look today, which is linked with what I'm doing. I selected the colour in my eye look very carefully, or I guess the colours in my eye look very carefully. And I have my autumnal lipstick, I guess. That's the best way for me to put it because I don't really wear this during the summer. I am taking part in Spoopathon. This is a readathon that's been created by Spoppyhol on YouTube. I will link her announcement video up in the corner, whichever corner it is, and I'll have a link to her channel. In this readathon, it's like we're going into a haunted house. So when you go in, when you start the readathon, you start with like prompts up the top and then you work your way down. So your goal is to escape the haunted house, so you have to follow these paths in order to escape the haunted house. You're awarded points for the books that you finish. There are also bonus prompts, which mean that you get extra points and you can stack these up to make your book be worth more. The goal of this is for you to go through this haunted house. When you go through the first time, you encounter locked doors and ghosts. But when you go through the second, the third time, however many times that you've pledged to go through it, you don't encounter these anymore. I'm going to be on the pink team. I'm a part of the Spoop shifters. That's sort of why I've gone with like pink top. My eye look is mostly pink, and I got my nails done pink as well because that's what I'm doing this month. So I'm going to be putting a decent amount of pink in my TBR because one of the bonus prompts is if your team colour is on the cover, you get extra points. So I've tried to put a decent amount of pink on there. So I'm going to be putting as much pink in my books as possible. So I'm a part of the Spoop shifters, and our team's ability is to cross something diagonally. We can do this once in the whole time in the haunted house. So let's say I'm starting on one track, but I don't have the second book, or I don't have a book that works there. I can shift diagonally and go to the next one, which I have done in my first round. Once you go through the second or the third time, the rest times you don't have your abilities anymore because there are no ghosts and there are no locked doors, and certain teams are mostly made to deal with those. So I have pledged to go through the haunted house 3 times. That means I'm going to be going through these prompts and going through different paths, at least different starting points, because I've sort of ended up crossing over in one aspect. So I guess I'll take you through my first path. So my first path is where I encounter all these ghosts and these locked doors. So to start off the month, I'm going to be reading Murder on the Links. Now the starting prompt for me is black cover. As you can see, this is a black cover. This is a Hercule Poirot book. This is the second Hercule Poirot book Agatha Christie wrote, and I am interested because it is a mystery thriller. I've been really into this whole sort of like mystery thing right now. This is about a dead man who actually contacts Poirot to come and investigate because something weird has been happening. But by the time that Poirot gets to Paris, his client is already found dead on a golf course. Not only is he found dead, but he's found wearing his son's large overcoat with love letters stuffed in his pockets, and that just unravels a whole mystery. I'm intrigued. I'm looking forward to reading this. I haven't actually read this one before, so I'll try to keep my discussion about it as spoiler free as possible, because when I go into mystery thrillers, I don't really want to know that much about it, because if I do, it spoils it for me. But there's my first book. My second book. If I was following the traditional route, I would go to a translated work. I'm not doing that. I'm using my Spoop shifter power, and I'm going diagonally across. My next book is Cemetery Boys by Aidan Thomas. This book fits the autumnal cover prompt. Now, this book is written by Aidan Thomas. This book came out last year. I read it earlier this year and I absolutely loved it. And I want to reread it because it's perfect for this time of the year. So this is about a trans boy. He's trying to prove to his Latinx family that he's a brujo. The women in this society are given the ability to heal people, whereas the men are able to transport and release these ghosts into the afterlife. That is one of the gifts bestowed upon them by the goddess of death. In this story, Yadriel's cousin goes missing and Yadriel accidentally ends up summoning a ghost, and now the ghost won't leave and won't pass on, so he's stuck with him, and together they're trying to solve the mystery because Yadriel's cousin has gone missing and quite a few other kids have gone missing as well. What's going on in this community and why are people disappearing? I really enjoyed it when I read it in April, but I think I'm going to enjoy it even more reading it now because it's the time of year that best suits it, I think. Just like October, November, because it's about the Day of the Dead and it's just perfect. So that is my autumnal cover. Now, after these two books, I end up hitting a door. Now I need 75 points to open this door, which I have because my first book is 25 points and my second book is worth 25 plus 50 because it's written by an LGBTQ plus author and has LGBTQ plus rep, as well as spooky prompt because it's about the Day of the Dead and there's ghosts. Spooky prompt fulfilled, in my opinion anyway. So I have 150 points, so I'm able to smash that door open. The next prompt that I went for is the new genre prompt. The book I chose for this one is Other Words for Home. Now this is a book written in verse. This book really intrigued me. It's about a girl named Jude and her family. She lives in Syria, and when the situation gets too difficult, they go and move to the States to be with their family. Her mother and her end up in Cincinnati. It's about her arrival into the United States and the differences that there are in the cultures. And this book has won quite a few awards, like as you can see by the big stamp on the front. I'm fully prepared to be emotional reading this book. I think it's an important story to be heard and I'm looking forward to reading it. I don't really read much poetry, so this fulfills my new genre prompt. I am looking forward to picking this up and trying something new. So my next obstacle is this ghost that's in the way, and I believe I need 175 points to defeat it. I have 200 and something already, so I knock out that ghost. Like, I'm not afraid of no ghost. And I move on to the next prompt, which is diverse rap. So I'm going to be reading this book called The Bone Witch. I have recently downloaded this on my Audible app. It's about this witch called T, and she, again with sort of like ghosts and spooky things, she brings her brother back to life accidentally. She doesn't do it on purpose, and it turns out she actually has the ability of necromancy, which is highly frowned upon in her community, and she gets shunned and forced to leave. So when she leaves, she moves and tries to become an elemental magic user, but she struggles and she wants to figure out what's actually going on in her life. So I'm really intrigued. Rin Chapeko has been an author I've wanted to read from for a while now. So now that I'm able to listen to it, I can't wait to start the series. So this book is worth 25 points because it's a book, and then I also get plus 50 because Rin Chapeko is under the trans umbrella. It also works for spooky because, again, necromancy. That leads me to another ghost, and I believe I just need 200 points to beat this. And I do, because I have over 200 already. So the next book that's on my list is Proof by D. Francis. I also got this on Audible recently. It's about a wine merchant who goes to a social soiree, and this wine merchant ends up facing a group of hitmen that end up at this soiree, and I'm assuming they're there to kill someone, or because they're hitmen, and then there's a mystery as to why they turned up and what happened. So our main character, the wine merchant, goes and investigates. I should be able to read it pretty quickly. I usually go through D. Francis's books quite fast, and I should be able to do it at night. Although in Hong Kong we don't really, like, our nighttime doesn't really change that much. Like, it gets dark about 6, so I should be able to read it in the evening. So that's the end of my first path. Now on to path number 2. Path 2 is going to start with Red, White and Royal Blue. This fits the prompt comfort reread, and I love this book. I just really enjoy reading it. It's a fun romance book, and it's about like 20-something-year-olds, which is great because most of the romance books that I end up reading, they're all like in their 30s, and I like reading about people who are sort of similar ages to me, which is nice. So this book, again, well, you can see by the cover, it's pink, so I get 50 points for that. And I also get points for LGBT rep. This book is by Casey McQuiston, and it's about the first son of the President of the United States, so FOTUS, I believe. This follows Alex. He really hates the Prince of England, Prince Henry. It's hate to love, which is a subgenre of romance that I really enjoy, if you couldn't tell by my past videos. I just really enjoy reading it. This will be my 3rd time rereading, and I'll be annotating it. It's on my Kindle, so I can just add notes and things, which is great. And I'm looking forward to reading it. So I start at comfort reread, and once I check that off, the next one down is graphic novel. I had a look, and manga counts, so I'm going to be using manga. The next book I'm going to be reading on my chart is Eden Zero Volume 2. This has a bit of pink on it. I get my pink colour. This book follows up on the first volume of Eden Zero. It's about this group of people. They're flying through the Sakura cosmos looking for Mother and just getting into stuff along the way, and I really enjoyed the first one, so I'm sure I'll enjoy the second volume. This is by Hiro Mashima, who wrote the whole fairy tale series. This is sort of like fairy tale but set in space. Lots of fun. After I'm finished my graphic novel, the next book that I have on my list is a non-fiction book, and the book that I've decided to read is Educated by Tara Westover. This is a book about Tara Westover and her life. She's born into a Mormon family, and this family doesn't believe in hospitals, doesn't believe in like the government and general healthcare. So she is born at home, so she has no birth records. She doesn't go to school, so she has no school records, and she's never taken to the doctor, so she has no medical records. To the US government, it's like she doesn't exist. And her family, her dad in particular, believes in the end of days. So for Tara, this is the story of her life and how she escaped when she was 16. And I've heard it's really hard-hitting. I've heard good things about the story. It'll probably be really emotional, and I will probably end up crying because, as I've mentioned before, I'm a giant crybaby. The next book that I have on my list, well, I actually had 2 books. This was a trick or treat prompt. The trick or treat prompt is a prompt where you give people 2 choices. You have a choice you really want to read and a choice you're not so excited for. So I sent a message to my family. So I sent a message to both my sisters and my mother. Of the 2 books I gave them, they gave me Malibu Rising. This has pink on it, so extra points. But this book is the book I need to read for book club. Technically supposed to be read this month, but I'm going to be reading it next month because the live show is usually in the first week, so hopefully I go through books quickly. This book is about the Reaver siblings. They're all quite famous and they're all going to Malibu. This is set in 1983, and I believe it's sort of about the difference between the facade that people put on for the public, particularly like people who are famous, versus what they are like in real life or like behind the scenes. I'm assuming there's going to be commentary on that. I'm looking forward to seeing what Taylor Jenkins Reid has to offer because I've liked her other 2 books. As you can see, the 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo has been lent to my cousin so she can read it, and I've also read Daisy Jones and the Six. I preferred The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, but I'm looking forward to seeing what this is about and seeing what the hype is all about. Finally, the last book that fits the Read After Dark prompt. This is going to be The Love Hypothesis by Ali Hazelwood. I am so excited for this book. I've been waiting for this romance for absolutely ages. This is a romance book about a PhD student who's working in a laboratory. She doesn't believe that love exists. And she bumps into one of her exes and she ends up, she bumps into one of her exes who is now madly in love with someone else, and I'm assuming in it for the long term. She doesn't believe in any of that stuff, so she ends up going up to the first person she sees and kisses him, and things go on from there. It has fake dating, which again is one of my favourite tropes in romance. I believe it has that, but also I'm just like, love in a lab setting with scientists, I'm here for it. Proving a hypothesis, I'm here for it. I studied science at university, so I'm here for hypotheses. So I'm so excited for that. I should go through it really quickly. I usually do with romances. And then finally onto the last path. So path number 3 starts off with Gifted. And I'm going to be rereading Get a Life, Chloe Brown. My lovely sister gave this to me last year for Christmas, and because most of the time I buy my books for myself, I decided, you know what, I'm going to reread this. I really enjoyed Talia Hibbert's writing. This is about Chloe Brown, who suffers from chronic illness. Chloe Brown ends up experiencing a near-death experience and realises that she hasn't done a lot with her life, so she decides to write her own Get a Life list. So she crosses things off. It's all about her journey. Along the way, she recruits her building super, Red, and it's about things that go on from there. I'm looking forward to it. The next prompt on the way down from Gifted is Autumnal Cover, and the one I'm going for is Dead Heat by D. Francis and Felix Francis. This was written later on in D. Francis' career, which is when his son Felix Francis decided to join in and start writing. This is about a chef who owns a restaurant in Newmarket. Newmarket is a big race course that is quite close to Cambridge. At this restaurant, the chef, our main character, is cooking a banquet, and everyone at this banquet who attends ends up getting food poisoning. Now that's weird. On top of that, the exact same day, a bomb goes off at Newmarket Racecourse. Doubly suspicious. So, in order to prove that he did not give all these people food poisoning, our main chef goes and investigates. He tries to figure out what was added into the food that he didn't add, because he has cooked for a long time and he's never ever had food poisoning from his own food. So something must be up. And it's all about the story from there. I should be able to go through this quite quickly. I'll be listening to it because that's the best way for me to enjoy D. Francis's stuff particularly. I'm looking forward to it. I'm in the mood for thrillers, if you couldn't tell. Like, I have quite a few sprinkled in. The next prompt that I chose to go through is 500 plus pages. And the book that I'm going to be reading to fulfill this prompt is All Roads Lead Here by Mariana Zapata. All Roads Lead Here is about a girl who ends up moving somewhere remote, and she's moving to get away from a bad relationship, I think. And then she starts to fall in love with her neighbour, who she sees across the road and locks eyes with. I'm looking forward to reading this. So that fulfills my 500 plus pages, because I believe it's actually closer to 600. Mariana Zapata is also well known for her slow burn, which I really enjoy reading, because I'm like that and I like slow burny things, which is, if anyone's got any recommendations for more slow burn stuff, please let me know. After I've read that long book, I go down, and this last book will be fulfilling 2 prompts. So the next prompt that I have is Diverse Rep. So I'm going to be reading Black Witch Magic. I am so excited for this book. This book was recommended in one of Jean's Bookshelf's recent videos, books with witches in them, which I'm I'm like, yes, give them to me. This is like the time of the year that I really enjoy reading like witchy stuff. This book got recommended. Our main character, her whole family has been cursed to live and never be able to leave the town that they were born in. So they've been living here for years, for hundreds of years, and they haven't been able to leave. They've been cursed to live here. In her family, all the women are witches. So I believe there was a curse put upon them by a witch, obviously, by a witch. I think the main focus of it is how to break this curse. But along the way, a paranormal investigator turns up. Now, this paranormal investigator is actually super skeptical. He doesn't believe in the paranormal, which seems a bit odd given that he's a paranormal investigator. Surely you want like some awareness of the paranormal. This has romance in it and I'm excited. Well, the tagline on the front is librarian by day, witch by night, and I'm just like, give that to me. So I'm going to be trying to read this in the dark, which I should be able to do, hopefully, and I'm excited. Those are all the books that I plan on reading in October for Spoopathon. I can't wait. I'm really looking forward to it. Hopefully I have a good reading month and I won't get too busy, but who knows. I hope your month goes well too. Leave a comment below telling me what book you're excited to read this spooky season or this October. Enjoy your spooky season. Enjoy Halloween. It is one of the best times of the year. I'll give it that. Please give this video a like and subscribe if you want more bookish content. I will be filming my Spoopathon journey, so subscribe if you want to see how I do, if I end up crying at things, because I probably will end up crying at things. I hope you have a wonderful day or night, depending on when you're watching this, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!